Hi out there, and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dr. Yolana Wassersug. I am the Assistant Registrar Student Recruitment here at the University of King's College, and right now we're in the beautiful King's College boardroom. What we're going to do this evening for about the next 25 to 30 minutes is talk about the process for applying to scholarships here, how our scholarships work, who's eligible to apply, and all sorts of helpful tips and tricks about what makes for a great application. So I'm going to chat about that for about 10 minutes. I'll show you where to find some information on our website that's helpful. And then I'm going to bring in a special guest, Dr. Peter O'Brien, who's the Vice President of the university, and he's also on our scholarship committee. So King's has two kinds of entrance scholarships for new students, and I'll kind of walk you through where on our website you can find information about those. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see what I see while we do this. Great. So if you go into your web browser and visit the University of King's College page, which, whoop, sorry about that, guys, is right here at ukings.ca. The very first thing that you'll see on our homepage is information about scholarships right here where it says find out more. You can click that and go straight to the information you're looking for, but our homepage changes sometimes throughout the year. So if you ever log into ukings.ca and you don't see information where you can find out more about scholarships, you can also get to that same spot by going to the blue panel on the side of the screen, click on admissions, then finances, and then scholarships, and it'll take you to where you need to go. I should point out that we have scholarships for new students, and we also have in-course scholarships for returning King's students. So if you're watching this webinar right now and you already go to King's, you're already a King's student, unfortunately, the information that I'm going to be focusing on today is entirely for our new applicants. But if you want to know more about returning course scholarships, you can find that website information on our website right here at Returning Student Scholarships, or you can just pop into the registrar's office and ask to talk to Kathy Reed, and she'll give you all the information you need. So today we're going to focus on new student scholarships, and this is where you can find that information. Right. So 95% of students who come to King's get some form of financial support from us. And I should say that 95% of students, they're probably getting a mixture of scholarships or bursaries, maybe both or one or the other. I'll mention bursaries a little bit more later and we can talk about those, but scholarships are the focus for right now. And if you scroll down, you'll also notice that we have scholarships for our undergraduate programs and also for our graduate and advanced programs. If you are listening to this webinar right now and you're planning to apply for a graduate or advanced program, like our one-year Bachelor of Journalism program, our Master's of Journalism program, or our Master of Fine Arts in Narrative Nonfiction, you're definitely going to want to go to the graduate and advanced section to get the info you need. And for all of our undergraduates, click here. So there are two different kinds of undergraduate scholarships at King's, the general entrance scholarships and the major entrance awards. General entrance scholarships are the ones that are really straightforward. If you are looking to get a general entrance scholarship from us, all you need to do is apply to the university by March 1st. There's no additional paperwork you need to fill out. There's no additional scholarship application form. Just apply to the university by March 1st, send us your transcripts, go through the regular application process, either by filling out a paper application form or an online application form, and we are going to automatically consider you for a general entrance scholarship. You'll notice, as we list right here on our website, that those scholarships are based on your academic average coming out of high school. So if you have an academic average of at least an 80%, you're guaranteed to get some amount of money from us. The amount of money that you get for a general entrance scholarship goes up depending on how high your average is. So students who have an academic average of a 95% or higher, we offer $3,500 to those students. And I also should mention that the numbers that are listed on our website are based on the values we gave out last year. They will most likely be the exact same this year or even go up, but they won't be going down. So those are the numbers that we have on our website for the purposes of giving you a sense of how it works. So those are the general entrance awards. Anyone who applies will be considered. If you are a Canadian student, if you're an international student, if you're from any part of the areas that we have students from, any student at all, even if you are straight from high school or if you're a mature student, you'll be automatically considered for a general entrance award. So those ones are the easy ones. Let's talk about the ones that are a little more complex and require a little bit more work on your end, which are the major entrance scholarships. Major entrance scholarships do have an application process. And one of the reasons why we're doing this webinar is that there's also a deadline that you need to be aware of, and that deadline is January 15th. So today is December 12th while we're doing this webinar. So you have about a month. And I would say one key tip is manage your time well, make a plan. There are parts of this process that require you to do a little bit of work, and you aren't going to want to be rushed and do it all at the last minute. So start early, make your plan now, because that January 15th deadline, unfortunately, that is a hard deadline. We are going to need you to respect that deadline. As long as all of the documents that you need to submit are in the mail by January 15th, that's great. If you put them in the mail on that day, that's fine. They'll postmark it, and even if we get it a few days after, as long as we see that postmark from January 15th, your application is valid and will definitely be assessed. For all of the different major entrance awards, we need to see an original essay written by you. And right here on our website is the topic for our essay. I'm going to skip over talking about this right now because a little bit later, I'm going to ask Dr. Peter O'Brien, who is on our scholarship committee, to come join me in this webinar. And he's going to talk a little bit more about what it takes to write a great scholarship essay. So I'll be inviting him in to talk a little more about the topic, some advice for how to do that well. But let's get back to the nitty-gritty. There's a bunch of different major awards, and they each have their own unique set of criteria. You might be eligible for more than one, and if you are, you should apply to more than one. You can apply to any or all of them that you're eligible for. That does mean that it's going to take a little more time, so I'm going to go back to the thing I said just a few seconds ago about managing your time and not feeling like you're rushed to get it all done at the last minute. So I'll just walk you through the awards quite quickly and mention the criteria for each of them. The first one that you'll see listed here is the Dr. Carrie Best Scholarship. This particular award is any applicants of African Canadian descent or Indigenous descent are eligible to apply. And if you're planning to be an undergraduate student at King's, you're eligible for that award. It's named after Carrie Best, who I just want to talk about her for a second because she's incredibly cool. Carrie Best is an amazing Nova Scotian publisher and journalist. You can see her picture right here. She published the second ever Black newspaper coming out of Nova Scotia. It ended up being published nationally. It was called The Clarion. She covered all sorts of incredible stories about human rights, civil rights. She was an outspoken defender of justice, and she wrote articles about incredible people like Viola Desmond, the woman who we now honor on the $10 bill. So she's pretty incredible. We're really honored to be able to think about her and honor her memory through having a scholarship in her name. So that's something to keep in mind if you decide to apply for the award. The other thing to keep in mind if you're thinking about applying for the Carrie Best Award is that along with your application form and your original essay, you're also going to need to get 2 letters of reference as part of that award. One of them should probably be from a teacher or someone who can talk about your academic skills and achievements. And another one might be from an employer or someone who knows you from a place where you volunteered or had a part-time job or did some community service. Someone like that who can speak about you and what you're all about. So that's the Carrie Best Award. The next one on the list is the Sobe Scholarship, the Donald R. Sobe Family Scholarship. This award is valued at $50,000 over 4 years, so it is our most valuable award. It's going to be given to a Canadian student from any part of Canada can apply. And it is based on both your academic achievements and also your community service and outreach. So if you're someone who does have interesting part-time jobs or volunteers in interesting places, or you're a leader in your community, you should absolutely apply. We would love to hear about that. And you'll notice that the application form asks quite a lot of detailed questions about extracurricular activities, jobs that you've had, all sorts of types of community leadership that you've been involved with. For the Sobe Award, we also need to see 2 letters of reference along with an original essay. The next one is the Harrison McCain It's valued at $16,000 over 4 years. Any high school graduate in Canada is eligible to apply for the Harrison McCain Award. The Harrison McCain is based on your academic achievements, and it's also based on financial need. So you'll notice that when you look at the application form for the Harrison McCain, there will be quite a few questions in there about financial need as well. The next one on the list is the Printz Scholarship. The Printz Scholarship is new to King's, sort of. It was originally established at King's in 1959, and then it lasted for about 10 years. But after about 10 years, we stopped giving out that award because one of the major benefactors passed away. And it was something that kind of fell by the wayside for a few years. But in the recent history of the university, there's been a lot of enthusiasm about bringing it back. And we're really, really excited to be able to offer the Printz Scholarship again. It's valued at $24,000, and it's open to any African Nova Scotian student. So it's a really special thing to be able to bring back. The Printz Scholarship is named after Samuel Printz, who you can see right here. Samuel Printz was a pretty remarkable man. He was a curate in an Anglican church, but he was also a prominent social scientist. He was a keen observer of how the Halifax explosion changed the city and the reactions that this city had and the people in it to the trauma of that incredibly terrifying and scary event. And he wrote an incredible book about catastrophe and social change. So this award honors his memory. And as I said, it's open to any student of African Nova Scotian descent. And then the last major award on the list is the Colin Starnes Award. This one is also open to any Nova Scotian student. It's named after Colin Starnes, one of the former presidents of King's. He was president of the university for 10 years, from 1993 to 2003. And it is based on financial need as well as academic merit, and it's valued at the total cost of tuition and fees for the first year of university. So those are all the major awards. They each have their own unique application form, which you can find when you go on our website. So here's the one for the Colin Starnes. You click Learn More right here to get the one for the Printz Scholarship, and so on. You're going to want to print them out. I would strongly recommend that you read them over carefully, look at the questions, think about the criteria. For some of these awards, you will need to go to your way to find a letter of reference, for example. And when I invite Dr. Peter O'Brien in to share his tips, he can say a little bit more about some strategies you might use for asking a referee to write a letter of reference on your behalf. For some of these awards, you may have to ask your parent or guardian to sign off on them. And for some of the awards, that part of it isn't necessary. So as I'm trying to get across, a really, really important part of this process is planning and making sure that you have enough time to do the parts that you need to do. The last thing I want to say before I invite Dr. O'Brien to join me up here is that along with the general entrance awards and the major awards, King's also has bursaries. Bursaries are given to students purely on the basis of financial need. They don't really have anything to do with your grades or your extracurriculars. And we put out a bursary application form just a little bit later in the year. If you have already applied to King's, then you took a look at our application form and you might have noticed that we asked you a question on that application about if you're planning to get a loan to finance your education. And if you clicked yes when you filled out your application, then we're going to be reaching out to you to let you know when the bursary application is online and how to apply. If you haven't applied to King's yet, please do. And when you do, you'll see that really clearly on our application form. It'll ask you if you are a student who's planning to apply for a loan. Check yes if you'd like to get more information about bursaries. I also wanted to mention that the information I'm giving today is just about the scholarships that King's offers internally. But if you are looking for resources about financial aid, the truth is that there are tons and tons of scholarships out there for you to access. You just need to be willing to do a little bit of research. For example, some of the major employers across Canada will have employee benefit systems where if your parent works there, your parent or guardian works there, they may be eligible to apply for scholarships for you, which is a pretty incredible thing. So that's something to maybe ask your parent or guardian about, depending on where they work. Another one to consider, a lot of people's community centers, churches, synagogues, and mosques will have all sorts of scholarship opportunities available for community members. So don't be shy. you should ask. The only way to find out about this information is to get out there and do the research. And another one to consider is that if you are a student who's differently abled, any kinds of needs, there are a lot of scholarship programs out there that are specifically geared towards students with specific sets of needs. For example, check out the website disabilityawards.ca to see a list of all of the awards that are out there across Canada for students with different types of needs, both medical or physical. Totally worth checking out. I just recently read an article on CBC about how literally millions of dollars in scholarship money go unclaimed in this country every year. So it's certainly worth looking into and doing the research. And also, when you're thinking about financing your education, don't forget to factor in the fact that there are tons of really good part-time jobs on campus, and that could also be part of the way that you build your financial plan for university. King's is proud to be home to 3 fully student-owned and operated businesses on campus. So along with those and tons of other opportunities, there are a lot of really good part-time jobs on this campus that help manage financial need. So at this point, I'm just going to invite Dr. Peter O'Brien to join us here.
Hi there.
Hi, Peter.
Hi there, Yolana.
How are you?
Very well.
So Peter is the vice president of the university. He also teaches classics, and he's been on the scholarship committee for a long time.
I'm the chair of the scholarship committee.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've read a ton of scholarship applications. You've seen the good, the bad, the very best ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be on that committee to reward the most outstanding applicants and also those who have different needs. So you've gone over the major scholarship of possibilities, Yolana, and I was just going to talk a little bit about the way a person on the committee might approach the applications and give people a little bit of a sense of what to keep in mind when they're putting the best foot forward in those scholarship applications. So I think you touched on the fact that those different major awards have slightly different criteria. They also have slightly different application forms in each case, and you indicated that it's possible to apply for more than one. In fact, we'd encourage people to apply for more than one, just to increase their chances. But you do have to put in a separate application. So different criteria have different forms, and some of those forms speak for themselves in terms of what they're looking for. But kind of a major question I think that anybody applying for these scholarships might have is how to approach the essay question. We have one major essay question for the major scholarships. It is a major question, but it's the scholarships that are major rather than the essay itself. And that topic is on the website, and it's a quotation actually from Pauli Murray, who was a lifelong civil rights advocate in the U.S. And what it asks you to do is to comment on the quotation as follows. It says, "True community is based on equality, mutuality, and reciprocity. It affirms the richness of individual diversity, as well as the common human ties that bind us together." So a very rich topic with all sorts of possibilities for comment and discussion. We chose this topic this year, I think, for a couple of reasons. One, King's is, we're proud that King's is a very vibrant community. Our model for education is one that immerses students here in the whole experience in their first year, at least, of living on campus and really living the life of scholarship that they've entered into. And so this topic speaks to the issue of what community is and what strong community is. And the second reason we chose it is because diversity has become a real focus of our conversation here on campus. And especially with the inauguration of the new Prince Scholarship that Yolana spoke about a moment ago, which is specifically designed for African Nova Scotian applicants. We thought it was a great opportunity to make diversity the issue of the year for our essays. So in approaching an essay like this, you want to keep a few things in mind. I would say the first thing is that though this is a topic that is very current and generates all sorts of ideas, you want to make sure that you're writing an organized essay, that you're shaping your thoughts in such a way as to persuade your reader, your readers, in fact, of your ideas on that topic. You want to organize it around a thesis, as we say in the university essay business. And you could ask your teachers about this if you needed some guidance. But generally, a thesis is a proposition, a main idea or hypothesis that you state clearly at the beginning of the essay, but which is something that needs working through. It needs discussion and development in the body of the essay itself and until you reach a conclusion that makes your reader feel as if you've really hashed out that thesis and brought the reader to a new kind of understanding. The essay topic is broad enough that you could do a little bit of research on it if you wanted to. And if you do it that way, you need to represent your work appropriately. Represent your research, make sure you represent other people's ideas appropriately in your writing. But it needn't be a major piece of research either. It can be just the development of an idea that you build upon, either by observing the examples of good community and equality and human ties in the world, or even by talking about a personal experience, although you don't need to talk about a personal experience to write an effective essay on a topic like this. You want to stay within the word count. There's lots.
Did we mention what the word count is, by the way?
500 words.
Yeah, so it's a pretty short essay
yeah.
to develop an argument in. But yeah, stay within the word count.
And you know, writing an effective short essay is often a longer piece of work than writing a long essay, because you've got to choose and you've got to prune and you've got to balance everything for effectiveness. You want to proofread that essay. You can proofread it yourself. You can also get help in proofreading it, as long as the person that's helping you out isn't actually writing the essay, but only picking out aspects of it that aren't clear or that are grammatically wrong or spelled atrociously or what have you. So make sure you're presenting yourself cleanly, because that's part of being persuasive in writing. And the last thing I'd say is don't try to game the system. Don't try to write an essay that says what you think your readers want to hear. Express yourself as authentically as you can, and that means coming up with an argument that you believe in, as well as one that you're trying to persuade your reader of. Does that seem like some good advice, Yolana?
I think that was,
yeah,
very clear. I also mentioned earlier that some of these awards, in order to apply, you need to ask for a letter of reference.
yeah,
So for some of them, the applicants will need to get 2 references, usually an academic one and then one related to work or volunteer experience. For the Colin Starnes Award, you only need 1 reference, but it has to be your high school principal.
right.
Can you give us any advice about how you would approach someone to ask for a reference effectively?
Yeah, I have a few tips. I think probably the first thing that's of essence at this point is time. Do it early, so make your decision and alert the person that you're going to ask that you'd like to have them do this. So my advice for doing that is to do it in writing, write it in an email. Would you be willing to do this for me? And supply the person that you're asking with some key bits of information, links to King's and links to the scholarship, so that they know what kind of thing you're asking. And then once they agree to do that, you might supply them with other pieces of information as well, like your own CV or even a completed draft form of the application that you're going to submit. It just gives the writer of the recommendation more material to work with when they're writing an effective piece of advocacy on your behalf. You can follow up after you do the email verbally, always being aware that you're asking a favor, you're not demanding a service. That always helps. And make sure your writer knows the deadlines that you're working under. Be clear about that up front so that you avoid disappointment and last-minute rushes. The only other thing I'd say, given our timeline, is just that you should feel free to nudge people politely, say a week before the deadline, just because things tend to get forgotten, especially at this busy and exciting time of year.
Awesome. That's great advice. Thank you very much, Peter.
All right.
There are a few more parts of the application process that it just occurred to me I didn't mention before. So you are going to want to assemble your whole application package, your original essay, which, by the way, if I didn't mention before, we need 4 copies of. So that's one for different members of the scholarship committee to be able to review so that they don't all have to share 1 copy. But the other thing I didn't say is that there is the right way to actually get this information to us, and that is the good old-fashioned way, in the mail. So if you are looking at our website, and I'll just share my screen again so you can see where to find this information. We're back here on the scholarships page, and you'll notice that there is a mailing address right here from my wonderful colleague, Katherine Reed. Kathy is incredibly helpful. She is the absolute guru when it comes to the scholarship application process on this campus. So you're going to want to mail your application directly to her at this address, 6350 Coburg Road here in Halifax. But along with that, if you have any other questions about this process that come up along the way, she is probably the clearest, best person to contact about that process. And you can also find her profile on our website by searching her name right here. And when you do, it'll take you to her profile. There she is. She's a beautiful redheaded person. So this is her email address. If you call her, her extension is 193. She's always happy to answer questions. And I should say, because I sit in the desk right across from her, so I hear when the questions come in, it is a good idea if you have questions and you are the student who's applying to reach out yourself. I know that a lot of you have super helpful parents and guardians who are supporting you in this process. And by the way, some of those parents and guardians might be listening right now. Hello, it's great to have you here. I know that you want to support your student while they apply for this process, but it's really important that you encourage your student, the person who's applying, to do some of this work for themselves. If they have questions, get the student to reach out directly to Kathy and ask. That's an important part of getting ready for university and being ready to take these steps on your own. So thank you so much, Peter. If you can hang out for a few minutes, I know that there's a really good time here to ask a few questions. I also wanted to mention earlier that while I was chatting about other types of scholarships elsewhere in Canada outside of King's, I got a helpful piece of advice on our chat board from Janet McDonald, who logged in. Hey, Janet, thank you for being here. And Janet, who's a real guru when it comes to finding great scholarship opportunities, also pointed out that if you pop into your guidance counselor's office at your high school, they will also be able to let you know about other great scholarship opportunities outside of the internal ones that we have here at King's. So there was one of the questions that was asked was how many people are reviewing our scholarship applications, and who's on the committee? Who are scholarship applicants? Panelists.
It's a committee that's made up of representatives from the registrar's office, usually the registrar herself, and 3 faculty members and myself. So you have professors adjudicating the scholarship applications, and also the registrar and myself in a capacity as vice president and as a faculty member as well.
Now, I should also add to that, many of our scholarships are reviewed entirely by the Internal Scholarship Committee, but 2 of them, the Sobe Award and the McCain Award, are a shortlist is created here at King's, and then that shortlist is also sent out to the Sobe Foundation and the Harrison McCain Foundation to also review. So those ones have a kind of 2-stage process. Yeah. And this is also a great time to ask any other questions that you have. We can stick around in the webinar for a few more moments. I will definitely encourage, these are the parts that I always wanted to say and I've been saying over and over again for this entire time, but make sure you give yourself enough time. That's a really important part of the process. As I mentioned, this is about a month away, that deadline. So if you're going to get started today, probably the first step would be actually print out the application form, read over the questions, get a sense of what you need to do. Set yourself a goal of asking your referees to be your referees maybe within a week. That would be a really good starting point to kind of get the ball rolling with this process. So at this point, just a few last things while I wait and see if any more questions pop in. Oh, here's one. So we have a question from an international student. Many of our major awards, all of our major awards, are eligible only for Canadian students. However, the general entrance awards, which I talked about earlier in this webinar, those are open to all of our students, including our international students. So if you're looking for more general information about the general entrance awards, which are open to all students, all international students, as well as all Canadian students, they're right at the top of the scholarship page. And just as a refresher, the general entrance awards are the ones where you don't have to fill out a separate application in order to apply. As long as you apply to the university by March 1st, we will automatically consider you for a general entrance award. So that is, helpful to keep in mind. Oh yeah, another good question. How are IB students evaluated for scholarships? So that's a great question. Thank you for asking. When it comes to the general entrance awards, they will be evaluated in much the same way that every other student is evaluated. So we'll calculate your admission average and base the award on grades if you're an IB student. For the major awards, we evaluate each applicant, I would say, in a kind of as much an even-handed way as possible. So one of the things that's really interesting about the IB diploma program is that some amount of community service is built into doing that program. So we know that if you are an IB student, you will have had opportunities to do community service because it's part of the requirements of doing the IB degree. And so that, I guess, in a way can be an advantage if you're applying for one of the awards where we're going to consider your community service. But we also know that lots of students who don't do the IB program are also really actively engaged in all sorts of different kinds of extracurriculars and are doing all sorts of really interesting things. So being an IB student isn't necessarily an advantage or a disadvantage. It's just a criteria about you. Is there anything that you would want to add to that, Peter?
No, I would say all of our evaluations are done on a case-by-case basis. So it's a full package that you're presenting when you're writing one of those application forms. Academics are part of it, but so is your presentation of your extracurricular activities and also your answer to the essay question.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So unfortunately, we're running quite low on time. I know there's probably going to be follow-up questions, which is great. Just because this webinar is over doesn't mean you have to stop asking questions. I'm going to give you my contact information, and I'll remind you of Kathy Reed's contact information so you can reach out and ask follow-up questions. I'll also point out that this video from this webinar will be archived, and we'll make it available on our YouTube channel. So if you missed something I said or you joined a little late, you can always add in and listen again and kind of come back and revisit it. So the contact info you need, first of all, you can reach me with just any questions you have about King's in general. I love talking about this university. It's literally my favorite thing to do and also my job. So please reach out to me with your questions. My name is Yolana Wassersug. Yolana is spelled Y-O-L-A-N-A, and I'm the only Yolana that works at this university. So if you search my name at the UKings website, you'll go straight to my profile. If you call the university, my extension is 197. So you can reach me anytime with general questions about King's. And Katherine Reed, who is the person that oversees the scholarship application process in our office, among all sorts of other things. You can reach her at extension 193 or email her at Katherine with a C, Katherine.Reed@ukings.ca. So she's always able to answer questions. The other thing I just wanted to mention one last time before I log off is that there is a deadline. It is January 15th. We're really excited to receive all your applications. So plan ahead, give yourself enough time. And I guess the last thing to say is good luck.
Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to seeing some fantastic applications.